Hey,
Progress.
everybody, welcome to That's Good Stuff, our show where we take deep dives into pop culture's newest releases. And we hope you had a good Thanksgiving because we did. And we had our yearly Friendsgiving, which was pretty epic, but you'll never know what happened there. I dominated. That's what happened.
What?
It,
He
it, it was games, and I dominated.
You're
But-
throwing fits.
Hey,
he had legitimate complaints. All
I
right.
need the game to be fair, okay?
Yeah.
Speaking of fair, Napoleon won some battle at the box office, coming in at number 2, a surprise number 2. Everyone had projected Wish to win, and this little French man, he came to play, and he got second place. So we are here to talk about Napoleon from Ridley Scott. Do you guys remember who released this movie?
Apple.
It was an Apple movie, really. Yeah. So we'll see it on Apple Plus someday if we have that.
Very long version, apparently.
So we could talk about the plot, but I'm sure everyone's pretty familiar with Napoleon. He was a French officer. He wasn't actually at the beheading of Marie Antoinette. He was like at the south border at that time, but I think they just put this in just so you can get the mood and set the tempo of what was going on in France. But yeah, he started. What was his rank, if you remember, Thomas?
He was a captain in the artillery.
Okay. Yeah. So
I have other facts, but I'll hold off.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go through this real fast. He was in the movie. He was there at all the beheadings, and he sees Marie Antoinette. She had just told him to eat cake, and they are okay, we'll chop your head off.
She's like, you guys are a bunch of cake eaters. Screw you. And then
we get a scene where some politics are going on. You got like Ross Pierre, and he's like, you guys suck. And says something about justice and terror.
that's the whole movie. You suck. No, you suck.
Off with your head. No, off with your head.
Napoleon meets with this guy. I don't remember who he's some bigwig. And he needs help at a port because the English are about to attack it, or they're occupying it, actually. So Napoleon's like, I can do it. So he gets sent over there. I don't remember what came first. Did they release Josephine before this or after this?
After
this. Okay. So he goes there, fights that battle, wins. Then they release Josephine, and he meets her, and he is quite smitten with her. And this starts a very tumultuous relationship throughout the movie we see. We get a lot of his battles, his important battles that he fought. I think, what was it, like 6 of them?
I think 3. He had Toulon, the Battle of Austerlitz, and then Waterloo.
Okay.
And then like some random ones
random stuff.
They didn't even talk about them really. There's like clips.
We get to see everyone knows that Napoleon went down to Egypt during his career, and they actually shoot the pyramids. That never happened, but it was fun to see. I'm surprised they didn't have the Sphinx, because there was always that myth that they like shot the nose off the Sphinx while they were down there. But yeah, so we go through his military career. We go through
They didn't show where he got the croissant. That's where the croissant comes from.
He invented it?
It was a Middle Eastern pastry, and he liked it so much. He's like, nope, these are French now. And now with the croissant.
Well, they had a lot of ground to cover, so they didn't give us a lot. Waterloo was kind of short, as a lot of people have pointed out. Because he's like, we got to fight the English, but not over there. And then it just like cuts to over there. Yeah, so we see his whole life. We see him exiled twice. And the last time he dies.
He goes.
So that's Napoleon in a nutshell.
the soul can only take 2 exiles, Joseph. After that, you're dead.
That's true. It's hard to be exiled 3 times. But ask Yoda. He only made it once. But so I came out of this movie and I didn't know how to feel. So I'm interested to see how you guys thought. Because I was like, well, I was entertained, but I didn't feel like I just saw a great movie or anything like that. It was, or even like after Oppenheimer, I was like, man, that was an emotional ride. It wasn't quite like that. But I did enjoy a lot of parts of this movie. So I will throw it over to Michael and see what he thought of this movie.
Kind of. I'm on the same. I'm along the same line. Same. Oh, good lord, I'm along the same lines.
He's
as you are,
flabbergasted.
Joseph. It's very much like. Well, for starters, I don't think this is the movie he intended. I think he intends because there's a 4-hour version coming to Apple TV, and I think that's the movie he intends. And I'm like, then just release it. We got Oppenheimer. It was long enough. Just do it. Like, there's so much in this movie that I feel like you said, through that even at the Battle of Waterloo, we were like, don't fight over there. Boom, we're over there. Like that happens so often during this movie where I'm like, I lost the thread of this movie so many times, and I feel like I don't know if it's this cut of the movie or if it's just like the direction of the movie. But like it just feels like two different movies. Like it's like you have the romance
Yeah.
movie and you have the war movie, and they don't blend. He doesn't blend them well together at all. You feel like you're being thrown into two different storylines, and you're like, okay, I'm interested in this, then I'm interested in this, but none of those you really touch. They don't touch the whole time. It's just it's very there's no real flow to this movie at all, but I didn't it's very much like middle of the road for me. Like I'm like there are parts definitely that I liked. That freaking the fight scene. I'll be the first to admit I didn't know anything. I knew Napoleon's name. That was all I knew. I know nothing about his history, nothing about I didn't know he went to Egypt, found that out. All this stuff. So but that fight in the like the wintry woods whenever he's coming from each side, and that was such a cool scene though. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
dude, holy cow.
I do like the
Visually
battle
amazing.
scenes in this
Yeah.
movie. Even Waterloo, even though it was kind of fast, it was
Mhm.
it
It
was
was
very cool.
interesting. The weird like square formation they were taking and everything. The
Yeah,
horses
it was
doing
like they
weird
were
stuff.
Romans or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was like. It's like a very interesting way to go about it. But yeah, it's very such an interesting movie. The performances I actually didn't really care for Joaquin's performance in this. It felt I mean, I don't know anything about not that I thought it was bad or anything, but it seemed inconsistent, like the movie, honestly. Like at one point, he's like this crazy general person. At the other point, he's a crying baby child who misses mama or something like that. And then he kind of goes crazy a little bit, and then but it's like I couldn't ever get the gist of what he was as a person. I don't know if that's very intentional. So I take it away. It's not the performance. It's like the character. I don't understand the character at all because it was just so different the entire time. I felt like I was watching a different person every single time we jumped a sequence to a different thing. Like they had that one point where he has no manners and they make a joke about it a couple times. Like that didn't seem like the same person at all later on in the movie. Like I didn't understand. I don't know. There was just no congruity for me to this movie and just the characters and everything. Even like my dad, because I went to go see it with my dad. Very strange theater experience, which I'll get to in a second, but not strange, but just yeah, strange.
Awkward.
But like we
It's very
both were,
awkward.
well, not in that sense. Like I don't care about that, but like the people around us, like it was a Sunday afternoon, 2:20. I bought the tickets. There's no one else who had bought tickets. The entire row with me filled up. But then there's like a whole empty section over there, a whole empty section behind us. I'm like, why did everyone sit next to us? Like everyone just starts piling in on my row, and then the
That's
people,
happened to us before.
the older couple next to me ordered probably 5 dishes, some of the loudest chewers on the planet. I first sit down. I don't know if I should take offense to this or not. I sit down next to the wife. They're older, and 10 minutes later, they both stand up, swap seats, and sit down. So he's sitting next to me, and she's sitting away from me. I'm like, did I offend you? Did I do something here? And then
Michael, keep your hands to yourself.
Can't be hitting on these women.
The
They're old
rest-
women, Michael.
the rest of the movie, they're literally just entree after entree after because at Alamo, just over and over again. And then halfway through the movie, they get popcorn, and then they start smacking on some popcorn the whole time. I'm like, oh my Lanta. And
That
it's
was
just-
me.
It was,
Yeah.
but like,
He had a big old
the dude, it wasn't like he had no awareness. It was just the immediate. It was like when you bite into an apple. That's how loud his first bite of popcorn was. Just you're like, oh my god, every single time. I'm like, God, stop it.
He
Anyway.
just does this, looks at Michael, good
It's like,
stuff. And then
That's good.
So yeah, very, very. And a lot of people had their flashlights on at multiple times because they couldn't see anything. It was just a bunch of old people, I think. But anyway, the movie itself, like my dad and I were talking about it because he after the movie, we were kind of like, "What do you think?" Because we were both kind of up in the air about it. He's like, "It's
Yeah.
never one he was like, I never want to see this movie again." But I'm not not mad that he did. But he's like, "I'll never watch this again." But we both were like, there was so much left hanging, like the bastard son that he had. We never heard from that again. The wife that he got, and then the kid that he had. We never heard from that again. Like there's so much that just kind of left. I'm like, I actually probably will watch the extended version on Apple because I want to see these things filled in and what the actual vision for this movie was. But yeah, very up and down movie for me. Very two different movies. One of them was really good. One of them was confusing. With like people have said, the strange humor in it that was just more awkward than humor for me. But
I know it was. It
it's
was.
just like, this is just a strange
I mean,
situation.
Jared was having a good time.
You're
He
weird
liked it.
people.
I was. It's good humor right there.
Very weird people.
Good
but
French humor.
yeah, that's about my overview thoughts right now. Yeah.
Jared, you want to go next?
Sure. Because I'm sure we're gonna get a history lesson with Thomas.
Probably.
I'll break it up. I didn't mind this movie. I kind of enjoyed it. I liked Joaquin as Napoleon. I like the weird, awkward humor. I mean, I'm not saying all of it hit, but I did like it. I did like a lot of it. Like Thomas, I'm trying to enjoy my succulent breakfast. You will
Well,
not
no,
arrest me while I'm having my breakfast.
It's when he comes back from Egypt, he's like, shh. Okay.
And then
When he's
every
talking to-
time, I like whenever he goes to a new place like Egypt, he's like, "Man, it's hot" in his letter. And then when he goes to Russia, good Lord, it's cold.
It's like me.
So I went into this not looking for like a history lesson because I know like Cliff Notes of Napoleon. Like I don't know a lot of details, and I probably never will. But I knew enough, I guess, to get by in history. So I wasn't going into this like looking for accuracies and stuff like that. The pyramids was a bit much. I was like, wow, I don't remember the cannon holes.
I thought the tops were
there.
still on those.
But I kind of appreciate that he kind of just did his own thing because like everyone's like, dude, that's nothing like how it happened. He's like, he's just like, how do you know you weren't there? I like that. I like that attitude.
Man,
like, what do
they
you
didn't
know?
shoot the
What do you know? You weren't there. You fixed it. You got some plaster. But no. It wasn't great. I do like the look of the movie. I thought it
Yeah.
looked really good, especially like the costume design.
Yeah, the
His
costumes were
first
great.
like uniform
Yeah, it was
was
dope.
awesome with like the red scarf and stuff like that. I was like, man, that's
I even like his trench coat that he like goes into
Yeah.
battle with, where he's just like chilling
He's-
out with his trench coat.
This coming up, like partway through the movie, it's just kind of dawning on me, like, how on earth did that hat become a thing? Like, where does that come
Because
from?
it's cool,
That's
man.
the thing. It doesn't look bad, and that doesn't make any sense. Why is this giant Captain Crunch looking hat just look? He looks so cool, and he's just strutting on his horse through the gates of places. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But bravo to whoever did it.
I love the shot where it's in the last battle, and he's like, they're like, "What's he doing?" He's like, he's just kind of sleeping there. He's just like, I love that shot.
I do like that when he was like in the meeting, he was just like sleeping, like yeah, I kind of liked it. Like I was saying that I really like the costume designs. Like if anything,
Yeah,
hype that up because
yeah, they
my
should
God,
win an Oscar for
that first uniform was so cool. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I never go to like movies like this for history lessons because they're always not accurate. Like when I remember the Titans didn't exactly happen like that. That
Yeah,
just
that's
shattered my
sad.
whole
That's pretty
universe.
sad.
What have you done to me?
So yeah, I enjoyed it. If the 4-hour cut comes out, I'll probably watch it because I enjoyed it enough to give it a shot. But that's all me. Let's sit down for history with Thomas.
What didn't Joseph want to go?
Oh yeah.
I'll go last. I'll wrap it up.
All right. I was severely disappointed in this movie. Like I kind of want to see the 4-hour cut because I don't know what was cut. Go ahead.
You're pretty hyped for this, weren't you? Oh, okay.
Because like this time period is one of my favorite time periods. It's one of my grandfather's favorite time periods, and we like to read like uh books about this and like fictional stories and everything like set around this era of the 1800s to like the 1900s, because everything's like in turmoil. Everything changed during this time period, and it's just and this was nuts. Like Europe during this time was just crazy.
You're
As we
just-
kind of got. Go
You're
ahead.
just upset they didn't show us buying Louisiana from him.
Well, okay, they left a lot out in this movie too.
15 million.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what the point of this movie was. It almost seemed like a personal attack on like the character of Napoleon.
Which is weird because I saw a lot of online stuff like, oh, this is just Anglo white propaganda, and it's like it doesn't paint him in a good light at all.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Like, if anything else, it just paints him as this like pussy whoop mama's boy. And I mean, yeah, he was like Napoleon was eccentric as all get out. He was kind of a weird dude. But what I never got in this movie was he was a genius. And the thing is that he was an actual genius. Like the dude is the most successful military commander of all time. And it said 61 battles. He had way more than 61. And it's just, yeah.
What's weird is like the scene when like his wife, he goes back and he like, because he finds out that she was with another guy, and then he's giving off mad like Blue Velvet vibes. Like, you see this?
He's just sitting there like,
and then she's like, "You're nothing without me." And he's like,
yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah.
That's
Baby
one of those
wants
skits
to,
that I was talking about, because like the scene before, he tells her she's nothing about him, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like we miss 15 minutes of something in between.
I mean,
there, and then she's saying the same thing to him.
That's relationships. I've been there.
I like when he destroyed the chair.
Oh yeah.
Everyone in the world knows I'm here except for my wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
but and because I went to go see this with my entire family, by the way, all of them. And it got really awkward in a few scenes in here, which I was not expecting because I didn't see the rating at all. I just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go into this.
Oh, I knew it's a French people and just
and it was very like clap, clap, clap. I was like, oh my god.
He was very angry.
It's also no romantical build up, just immediately like, Jesus, chill out, man.
A bunch of slapping right there. I'm like,
but they had like all their clothes on. They were like fully clothed.
He just had the little crotch flap he flipped down.
It was still gross, but yeah,
that's what those were for.
And
Yes.
my grandfather brought up like a point. It's like this shouldn't have been called Napoleon. This should have been called Napoleon and Josephine. I mean, really.
True.
I didn't really get why the film decided just to completely focus on their relationship and not really focus on the broader aspect of what was going on, which was he conquered pretty much all of Europe.
Yeah, they just kind of made that seem like a small task.
Yeah.
It was like,
it was like, oh, I got back from, conquering Italy.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, cool.
It was really the message, like you can be like king of the world, your wife's still like, eh.
Yeah, your wife's still banging other dudes, so there you go.
Well, it's like Michael said, it does feel like two different. Like they wanted to tell Napoleon and Josephine, but they also wanted to throw in some war stuff too. So.
And the thing is that the only real war thing they got right was Toulon, which was the first battle, the one with the ships, which is probably my favorite scene in the movie. That looked amazing.
Yeah,
his horse got obliterated.
That actually happened, by the way. That actually happened to him.
And the theater is like, that poor CGI horse. I was like, geez.
But I mean, okay. And here's the thing about, I don't understand why they're trying to personally like just go after Napoleon like this, because sorry, I unplugged my computer by accident.
Are you still here?
There we go. Cool. Especially for like people are so anti like monarchy type stuff, So Napoleon comes from Corsica, which is a very, very poor section of France. It's barely France. Like they don't consider them French. They really look down on them. Napoleon really wasn't very high ranking. The only thing that he had going, I think he had like 8 siblings. The only thing that they had an advantage was that they were all highly educated, and that's it. They didn't have money. They didn't have any political connections at all. And the only way that you could really get through was either joining politics or the military. And he decided to go in the military. And what's kind of fascinating about all of that, too, at least for me anyway, after the first battle, he was promoted from captain to brigadier general at the age of 26. He was promoted to general, which is crazy. Like the fact that somebody's that young makes it that high up. They completely left out Italy, which is where he made all of his money. Because like he comes back like after from Egypt, he's like, "Oh, I'm all wealthy now," and I'm like,
Where did that
"From
happen?
what? You didn't come from wealth. Like, who are you? Where'd you get all that money?" And there was no progression of power for me. It was just like, I'm here, I'm
Yeah.
Napoleon,
Mm-hmm.
ma, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, when they set up that 3 council thing, it's like, why are you including this dude? I mean, he's
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, is that they tried to do like a triumvirate thing that like that Caesar did, and he looked up to Caesar, and that was part of it. But they never expanded on that. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm king now, so there you go. And I'm like nothing in this movie makes logical sense to me. And okay, and other parts too is that they left out these massive battles that I don't know if they're going to be in the 4-hour cut or not, but they left out Trafalgar, which is a huge battle in the Napoleonic Wars. Like that's where Nelson died. That's basically where the the British established their superiority on the sea, and then Napoleon has the land, is what it was. And there's like hardly any mention of that except for that weird line where he's like, "Oh, you just got boats. That's all
Yeah.
you think you're special because you got boats."
That's funny. You and your little boats.
Yeah, but uh,
that was funny. They left out
it
the
was just-
Spaniards. We were nowhere to be.
well, and that's the thing is that
No representation.
they left out the Spaniard campaign, the Portugal campaign, and then the Waterloo campaign. Or the Waterloo battle. I was so disappointed in. I'm like, this is a 10-minute battle. Like this battle lasted like 17 hours, and we're getting a 10-minute. Like Toulon was as long as this, and that wasn't even very long. But every other character too, we never got to know anybody really. Like we got to kind of know his brother, and then he disappears halfway through the movie, and then at the very, very last second, Wellington shows up. And I'm like, we're just now introducing the Duke of Wellington because, you know, he kind of like was fighting with Napoleon in Spain, and that was kind of a big deal.
And there was also his like advisor. I don't know what he was, but he was kind of his henchman for a while.
Yeah.
And then he disappeared too.
Then he disappears too. And then like, and Michael said, like, we never see what happens to his kid, but his wife, Josephine, like dies. We're like, oh yeah. But the thing is, Josephine died after Waterloo. Like, this wasn't even part of that. And the fact that they frame this as like, oh, I'm grieving and I don't care. I'm just going to murr because, you know, Josephine did murr. I just didn't understand.
He had a lot of illegitimate childs before that, so that one child kind of just substituted for all the other kids he had.
Thank God they cut the black too in that one. I was like, oh God, I don't want to see that. Where his mom is like, go get that girl pregnant.
The 18-year-old. I was like, please don't go into that.
Like I was sitting with my cousin. I was just like, no. And then he blows up the candles. I'm like, oh, thank God. But like this movie was just weirdly paced too. I didn't understand it. Like I felt the runtime. I was like, good Lord, we're still here. Yeah, I was so disappointed in this because I'm a huge history buff and I love this era, and this just completely disappointed me on all fronts. And there have been way better productions of like this time period, and it's just it to me it kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie, but I am interested in the 4-hour cut. Maybe the pacing will be better. Maybe there'll be a more complete story. I don't know, but yeah. So what do you got, Joseph?
All right. Well, you guys pretty much said everything, but
Sorry.
I would just mention like Michael said, it does feel like two different directions they wanted to go to, and they had to meld them. The relationship stuff, I think, was a little much. I mean, I think you definitely need to see it because Josephine was a big impact on his life, and their relationship was kind of torrid like that. Josephine was actually 6 years older than him. That's why she had trouble getting pregnant. And I think they kind of made it just seem like she was kind of holding out or something like that. Um, but I mean, that was the simple explanation for her. She was 6 years older than him. Um, I like the battles, like I said. I like the part where they go to Moscow and it's like empty.
Mm-hmm.
That was super like kind of creepy, and he goes into the church and there's like birds pooping everywhere.
Like a little boy.
I
Little
like,
boy, where are you?
like Jared said, the costumes are awesome. The sets were cool. I did, even like when he's at the island at the last part. I did kind of like that scene where he's like talking to the kids, and she's like, he was like, I burned down Moscow, and she's like, no, I heard the Russians did it themselves. And then
You weren't there. How do you know?
And then
That's how I
ends-
answer every history question now. You
were
don't know.
there?
You weren't there.
What do you mean?
And then the end scene where he kind of just like tips over. I kind of like that. I didn't really feel like it was that long. Did you?
I did.
I didn't really know.
Um, I don't remember.
I think it's more my attitude toward it that
Yeah.
made me feel the runtime.
The only music I remember is kind of like the old songs.
The
that they
beginning
sing.
had a really good piano piece.
Yeah, I don't
Like when it
remember
was
any
first
music in it.
starting, like when what's her name was getting her head chopped off. I was like, that's good piano right there. That's good head chopping music right there.
And they kind of used the old like folk songs throughout it.
Excuse me.
The
Oh
guy
man,
had-
we didn't. They missed out on the old farewell to the Spanish ladies because that's from the Napoleon. Like that's missed out.
Missing out,
There's a
man.
lot that they could have added. It's hard to. I mean, he had a very long career. It's hard to get it all in there.
Apparently, like this was supposed to be a mini series for Steven Spielberg.
Mm.
It was going to be like a 10-hour like mini series.
Goodness.
Well, that would make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Trying to cut this down to a movie.
Especially if it's-
Joaquin. Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, especially if it's an Apple thing, why not do it a series? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have the I don't know.
Probably would have done better too.
Yeah.
Joaquin was fine, I thought. I do like the little craziness he put into, and then I like he had the look of him, even though he doesn't really look like Napoleon. And like, if you see pictures of Napoleon, but his facial expressions were like pretty good, like his scowls and when he's like sitting there just like, so I think he did fine, and like
I did-
Thomas said, there wasn't like a lot of other characters to even talk about. It was mostly just him.
I did like that they didn't make him short, like because
Yeah.
that's a British rumor that he was like 5'4" or 4 foot whatever. He was normal size. He's a
It's
normal
like
size guy.
5'11".
5'6" or something.
I think he's like 5'6". Yeah, but that's like the normal height of the time. That's like he's pretty tall for
Yeah.
that time.
Man, I don't think Joaquin's that tall himself though, so he's just seemed pretty normal. I think they did kind of make fun of it when he's trying to get on the horse, but he can't.
Yeah.
Apparently Napoleon wasn't a very good horse rider.
Mhm.
In real.
Well, and that's what kind of made me. I don't know, I'm not mad, but just like, why are you doing this? Like, again, like his literal genius was that he was an artillery officer, and the fact that for artillery officers you couldn't really buy rank, you had to earn rank, and the fact that he was a mathematical like genius, they missed out on that. And
Yeah, it would have been nice if they got more of his like strategic mind in there. The only time they really do is like that frozen lake scene
Mhm.
where he like kind of flanks them from a different side and then they forces them onto the lakes.
He even
That's
kind
the
of
only
mentions
time.
part of that is like he uses geometry to like
Yeah,
figure out how a battle's going to play out.
yeah, that's the only time you really see him kind of planning stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's just him. Um, I guess he never kind of led his troops out. It's just not something you did as a general. But I think they did it just to show that his soldiers did like him.
And that's what I never. That's something that kind of stood out to me is that the scene where he stands in front of the French soldiers, he's like, if you're going to shoot me, shoot me.
Mhm.
That really happened. That happened like 6 times, and that's how we like acquired so many French troops along the way. Because he only started out with like 1,000, and then he got to like 400,000, and they never really showed why the soldiers loved him so much.
Yeah,
But
until that scene.
until that scene, but he like all of like France's military was super devoted to Napoleon,
Mhm.
and they never really showed that.
Yeah, probably because they kept going back to Josephine every
Yeah,
scene.
yes.
It would have been nice if they just kind of like explained it through like their correspondence,
Yeah.
them writing back.
And the letter writing was kind of inconsistent because like whenever the letter writing came like into it was just like him being like horny and asking, "Why don't you write me, Josephine?
I know. You should write me every day.
Every day."
Very clingy guy, I guess. But yeah, like Jared, I cracked up at the scene um where they go to interrupt everyone's breakfast, and that guy is super angry about it. Um,
Succulent, dude.
and then when he's on the English ship, and he's talking to the little kids. I don't know if they're cabin boys or whatever they're
Midshipman.
midshipmen. Yeah, and he's like eating, and he's like telling them, "Yeah, I'm pretty cool. You should be like me." He's like, they're lovely boys. I like those guys. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. I like you guys. I probably wouldn't watch it again unless it is that director's cut, just to see what they cut from it and what else they could have added and which one's better. So
It was just more clapping.
we had a lot more. Yeah, so that's our take on Napoleon. Do you guys have any last words?
Not really. I think we all kind of, even despite our interest in the movie and enjoyment, I feel like I agree with basically everything everyone said.
If you
Destiny.
weren't there, then you don't know. You can't tell me.
You can't tell those pyramids.
Destiny has brought you this podcast.
For
Therefore,
all you know, the pyramids got shot and a transformer climbed on top of them. So
True.
how do you know? You weren't there.
who's to say? All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff to come. And we will see you next time.
Recording